Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to the episode of today. So, this is part 2 head noise episode. If you haven't already, then check out the episode just before this, which is the voice note episode. I have some great questions there. Love the voice notes, and I love hearing your voices. You're all just so fucking cute. Anyway, let's get straight into this episode. This one is all the emailed questions that you guys have written in. So, I'm going to try and get through a few. So, let's get straight into it. Hi, Alexis. How do you deal with negative family members slash grandparents that want you stuck in an environment that is not healthy, no rules, no friends allowed over, no boyfriend, become so isolated due to living in this toxic environment, trying hard to get myself out of this spiral. Grandmother doesn't like any friends that I bring over, does not approve of any past boyfriends, prefers me stuck at home with her doing nothing with my life. I am 31 years old and have no friends, no social life, made to feel controlled. When I do go out, I am always getting text messages about when I will be back, so it ruins my night. Eventually, everyone's isolated me and I don't know what to do. Okay, you're going to have to be the quote unquote asshole, close quote, in this situation. You are living your life on this person's terms and you are an adult. Okay. Another thing that I am going to say is how independent are you in this dynamic? Okay. Because when you've got total independence, even when you live with family, when you've got total independence in the sense that you're contributing financially, you are paying your way, then you have a huge leg to stand on. Not that anyone should be controlling anyone anyway, but what I'm saying is then you have complete control over your time, how often you enter and leave the house. You're not using it as a hotel. It is your home because you are contributing to living there, paying for food, paying for this, paying for that. Obviously, I'm not going to bother suggest the obvious because I'm sure you've already considered as to why are you living with her if she is absolutely like cock blocking your life. I'm sure there are valid reasons because my first advice would be fucking move out. But I just presume that there's an obvious reason why you're not moving out. So we're going to roll with that. But the more you can have, the more independence you have, the easier it is to live how you want to live. And then people just have to come around and get over it. Okay. Now, if she doesn't want friends over, I would never force that. I would never force that, not for her sake, for my sake. If I was living with anybody who just hated when I had friends over and I had to live with this person, I'd be like, I feel uncomfortable when my friends are over now. So I'm still going to spend time with my friends. I'm just not going to bring them over because it is making my life a misery. And then I'm like sitting there stressing the whole time. It's just something you can't change. So unfortunately, if you're choosing to stay living with your grandmother for whatever reasons, then you've got to look at certain things that are never going to change. She's probably never going to change how she feels about having people over. So having people over is just a no-go zone. So you've got to work with what you can work with. And in this scenario, you can work with, I can leave the house whenever the fuck I want. I'm an adult. I can exit this home whenever I want. When she texts me saying, when are you coming back? I will not reply. When I leave the house, I'm going to say, I'm going to go see some friends and I'm going to be back later tonight. I don't know when that will be. It will be later tonight. If she then sends you a message and says, what time are you going to be home? Don't reply. And then when you get home, if she gets upset that you didn't reply, whatever, just say, I communicated to you before I left that I wasn't sure what time I'd be coming home, but it would be later tonight or it would be whatever. Okay? You've got to teach people how to treat you. Now, one thing that you really ideally will want to be working towards is that this not be a long-term thing. You've got to ask yourself, why am I, how long is this going to go for? Because unfortunately, if she's your grandmother, I'm presuming she is obviously significantly older than you. And there's going to be, the older people get, and unfortunately, this is just how it is, the harder it is for them to change because they are just more set in their ways. So for a grandparent to turn around and all of a sudden change, that's not going to happen. It is not your job to change her. It is your job to set some boundaries for your sake. Okay, it is your job to tell people what you're going to do, not ask them. This idea about the boyfriends and stuff, you say, prefers me to be stuck at home with her doing nothing with my life. She doesn't like any friends I bring over, does not approve of any past boyfriends. This is, whether she's doing it because she's scared to be alone, irrelevant of the reason as to why she's doing it, because even knowing the reason doesn't change the outcome. So even if you've gone through every reason as to why she's behaving the way she's behaving, it is cock blocking your life. And if you're standing here saying, well, the reason I'm not moving out is because I feel really sorry for her and then she'll have no one, well, guess what? You now have no one. You now have fucking no one because you're isolating yourself. You have no friend. And is it worth it? You're 31. It's your fucking time to live your life. She's still alive. She can still live her life. But you don't live your life by controlling other people. That's not how it goes. I don't care how fucking old you are. I don't care how sorry people feel for you. That's not how relationships work. Okay? You can still love her. You can still spend quality time with her. But then when you're out, you're out. And I can tell you right now, especially as you get older and you're in your 30s, this is your fucking time to tell people what is on and what's not on. Okay, especially in your 30s because you've done the bullshit, dealing with the bullshit of other people in your 20s. You've learnt the hard way. This is your time to be like, I am going out. I am doing this. If she says something bad about your friends, just say, I know you're not going to approve of my friend, so I don't need to hear it. And you can say it jokingly. You can say it nicely. She says, oh, I think about your friends, so I don't need to know what you think about my friends because it's never a positive thing. You can say those things. And if you feel like you can't say those things, then even less reason for you to be living with her. You should never feel that you are living with somebody who you can't speak your mind to. That is prison, okay? Anyway, still don't know why you live with her, but you got to really ask yourself, like, now that I am living with her, I need to manage this a lot better. I need to tell her what's up, okay? But yeah, I just, for my sake, wouldn't bring people over anyway if I was living with my grandmother and she didn't like my friends and it felt uncomfortable. Okay, next question. Hi, Alexis, long-time listener and huge fan of the potty. I feel so much wiser when I first started listening to you, so thank you for all the wisdom you shared. Thank you. I would love some help around people-pleasing in the workplace. Ever since I've entered the workforce as a teen, I've always had good work ethic and integrity. However, I feel like sometimes I put too much emphasis on this to my detriment and I cross the line into people pleasing. I feel like I always try to work at 100% capacity and put pressure on myself to do every little task asked of me, to the point I ruminate on whether I've forgotten something for someone. I find it hard to take sick days, ask for time off, or negotiate better pay. I have self-reflected and have a good idea about why I'm like this. Firstly, I'm lucky to have always been recognized for my hard work and feel once I've set a high standard for myself, I need to make sure that no one's opinion of me changes. I don't want to drop the ball. The harder I work, the more people ask of me, and I enjoy being people's go-to person, as again, it makes me feel some sort of importance. Secondly, a lot of jobs I've held over the years are considered low-skilled jobs, and I feel I don't have intelligence or knowledge to bring to a company. So to completely smash my role in this is the only way I can prove to be of any value. This especially has been the case since having children, as I need to work part-time or flexible hours. On the other hand, in roles where I've been promoted into management or higher positions, I feel like an imposter. I work so hard to not put a foot out of line to continue to prove myself to be worthy. This is exhausting, and I really want to break the cycle of needing to always be likable and easy to work with. I tie so much of my personal value to how I am doing at work and don't put nearly as much pressure on myself in other aspects of my life. Thank you for answering this question. Okay. I think a lot of this, and I keep saying I need to do a podcast on this, but anyway, I'm going to do a podcast on this. A lot of this comes down to this concept of like growth mindset versus fixed mindset. So if you're someone that has a fixed mindset, you have kind of like a fixed idea of what you think you are capable of achieving, right? So because you've got an idea of, you're calling this a low skill job. So you're like, I'm capable of achieving this. I can smash it. And then I get all this accolades and, I feel really acknowledged by everyone. And, I feel really secure in what I'm doing because people need me and I get really validated in all of this. And I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm very confident. The moment you step outside your zone, you get imposter syndrome. You go, no, I can't do this. It's going to be too hard. I'm not going to be able to, blah, 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 blah. That is called fixed mindset. So fixed mindset is even if you're good at something, you stay in your lane because you've got this idea of like, this is as good as I'm going to get. Even if you're smart, they're really, really like smart. It doesn't matter where you sit on the spectrum of quote unquote intelligence. Anyone can have this fixed mindset. So for example, if you look at children, even children that really excel, if they believe themselves to be really smart, they're actually less likely to take risks because they don't want to break this image that other people have of them. They don't want to ruin this title that they have of being smart. So they're going to stay within the parameters of someone who is still known as being smart. If they then try something too far outside their realm, they're going to have not succeeded, potentially failed. Would they still be smart? Okay. So that's why there's this whole question of, should you always be praising your child, saying, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart. I personally don't think that's a good idea. What I think is better is to encourage children for being like, God, you're a hard worker. You try really hard. Love how much you try. I love how many times you give that a go. And you're not praising winning. You're not saying you've lost, you've won. You're saying you're a fucking hard worker. You really stick it out. You really work hard. That's the growth mindset. So fixed mindset, I don't know if I fucked up. I think I muddled up before. That fixed mindset is where you got a fixed idea of your capabilities. And because of that, you really attach yourself to that. So anything outside of that is a threat. Therefore, you're not going to veer too far out of that. You're not going to risk. You're not going to take risks, because if you quote unquote fail with that risk that you take, it's going to affect your image of yourself and other people's image of you. Growth mindset is someone who knows that things are changeable. They are more flexible. They can become smarter. They can become more dynamic. They can become better at this. They can learn this. They can become academic, become whatever. Okay. So when you've got this growth mindset, because you are aware that your mind is flexible and things can change, you're not too afraid of taking risks. Okay. You can take risks. You can put yourself out there. You can do, there's all these things that you're more willing to do. Children who are praised for trying and being a hard worker will fail as many times as necessary in order to do the thing, because they get their value from trying, from giving it a go. And if they fail, they're like, well, this one didn't work, but I'm going to try again. And then I succeeded here and I tried, but I'm a hard worker. So even though you work really hard, I think that you've got this fixed mindset, just for the limited knowledge that I have of you. I believe that you might have a fixed mindset around like what your capabilities are, because you feel comfortable in your quote unquote low skill job, but you feel validated when you are needed by everyone, right? But then the moment you try and go to a harder job, you feel extremely uncomfortable and out of your comfort zone. So there's a few things that you should do here, I think. A lot of it seems like you enjoy it. So I'm not saying don't. Like, some people go to work and they love to just slog it out and work hard. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you enjoy it. If you like, I want to get there and I want it to be wall-to-wall work. I want to be fucking on. I want something to do the entire time. I don't want to like fuck around. If you enjoy that, and if you're not feeling burnt out, I'm not going to tell you to stop, because that might just be one of your traits that is a part of your personality that you like. Okay. So what I am going to suggest though is, if you want to break out of this kind of cycle of I'm too much people pleasing, is you need to identify what it is that is something that you're not actually enjoying doing, because you're saying that you're a people pleaser, but it looks like it's pleasing you a lot. So you need to ask yourself, where is it that I can actually step back on? Because you're afraid to quote unquote drop the ball and people aren't going to, respect you as much. There's a difference between saying, I'm at my capacity, I'm not going to be able to take that on today, versus saying, I'll take everything on, and then dropping the ball and forgetting something, and then someone relying on you for something, and then you're not coming through with it because you said you could do it, and in reality you couldn't. So maybe you need to start looking at, how do I get better at saying I'm not able to take this on? It's, a lot of people are terrified to say no because they think people will respect them less. But in fact, people will actually respect you more, because they're like, this person knows their boundaries. This person knows what they are and are not capable of. When that person says yes in the future, it means they actually, they can do it. When they say no, it's because they've maxed out. So there's many ways that you can say it, but you could say, this week, I'm not going to have the capacity for that. Or, my plate is full at the moment, or I don't think that I'll be the best person for that job. You can give me A, B, or C, and I'll be able to help you with that. But with this particular thing, I'm not sure I'll be the best person. Maybe so-and-so might be better at that. People don't disrespect you when you say that. It actually is more respectful. So, for example, when I used to work, if I knew that someone else that I worked with, in the fitness industry, when we were setting up Pilates studios, and like, there were people in my team that had skill sets that I absolutely did not possess. So when people come and ask me something, I'd be like, that is, Sarah for sure, or Yvette for sure. Or, you actually feel, and people respect you a lot more when you can highlight the strengths of others and saying, maybe go to them for that, but I'm really good at this, So for example, even when people would come to my classes, they'll be like, oh, like I've counted, and I'd say, well, if you want this kind of class, you need to go to Yvette's class because she's amazing at this, or you need to go to Sarah's class for this. I'm more like this and whatever. When you can say, this is what I'm good at, and other people are good at that, you'll actually empower yourself. People aren't going to be like, oh my God, she's a failure. She's not good at absolutely everything, because no one is. And people pleasers, sometimes forget or fail to realize or ignore the fact that they're not demanding all this from other people. But why do they think that other people are demanding all of this from them? People are not going to like you more if you do everything for them. I can guarantee you that. If anything, they'll probably take you for granted. If you are always available 24/7 at all costs, no matter who this person is, even if they don't reciprocate and it's all the time, then there's a big chance, not always, but there's a big chance that you'll be taken for granted. And then people will actually not value you in the way you think they're valuing you. So you've got to put yourself first. You have to value yourself first. Do the stuff that you love doing. Work your ass off if you like working your ass off. But you've got to understand that no one is going to respect you less when you say you can't do something. The amount of times that I've said, I can't do something, I don't have the time to do something, I don't have the capacity to do something. And I genuinely believe that no one's like, oh my God, she's not as smart as we thought she was. She's not as good at what she does. They're still going to say, you're fucking good at what you do. Unfortunately, you can't take on this role, this job that I've got for you, this other task that I've got for you. Okay? So you've got to think of it in that way. I kind of rambled on multiple different ways to look at it, but I hope that gave you some food for thought. But look up growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And also, have a very clear idea of what you can say when you can't take something on. Be very clear on what your strengths are. When you're really comfortable with your strengths, it's okay to then say no to things that are not your strength. It doesn't feel like a blow to your own ego because you're comfortable within what you're good at, okay? All right. Another one. All right. Last one. Hi, Alexis. I love your podcast. I've been listening since I was in high school and it has really helped me a ton. Thank you. I'm about to finish finance in university with a bit of work experience, but self-development and human nature is really my favorite thing ever. I spend most of my free time just reading, listening to podcasts, and constantly evolving. But I'm worried about not going into finance and what my family/friends might think. I also am not sure how I would even contribute my knowledge to the field, as I'm introverted and don't know what role I could start. Do you have any advice? Okay, so this is really difficult because you're very young and you're finding something that you're passionate in and you're about to enter this field that you're not passionate in. Number one, I think you need to decide, is this something that I want to do as a career, or is this something that I would feel fulfilled in just knowing a lot about and educating myself a lot on the topic and just being really into it? Because there's two separate things, obviously. Now, if you're saying, no, I'd love to have a career in this, then I'm sorry to tell you, but now is the time that you need to start looking at having a career in that. And the reason I say this is because of this whole thing, which I've said 1,000 times, but it's the sunk cost fallacy. We think because you're going to think, I've done this degree in finance, I'm about to finish, and that would be a waste, right? But what's more of a waste? That you do your degree in finance and then you start a career in finance knowing you don't want to be there. Now, if you're standing here saying, no, but I still want to do finance, like I'm still semi-interested in it, whatever, then of course give finance a go, because I think if you're still like, no, part of me really likes this, then you might start the career and be like, yeah, wow, I'm excelling at this. I love this. I'm thriving here. And I can look at mindset and psychology and all of that. And, like you were saying, self-development and everything as something on the side. So if you want to give it a shot because you're still interested, I would absolutely encourage that. I'm not saying, oh, just quit now, fucking quit now. Definitely give it a shot. But I feel like you're saying, I'm worried about not going into finance and what my family and friends might think. That's another thing that a lot of us use as a reason to not do things. And it's a valid reason because we obviously care about what people think. And we also don't want to be in this uncomfortable situation where we're having to explain ourselves and people are trying to argue, a different point and trying to get us to do something and and then they think that we've made the wrong decision. And of course it's going to play on your mind. Like, we're not robots. Of course we care about what people think, but you have to think, what will this feel like in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? I just feel like if you're in a position where you're about to finish your degree, you haven't lost that degree, right? It's there. You can go and work in finance later on if you change your mind. You haven't lost that degree. You haven't lost that knowledge. I did my undergrad in cognitive neuroscience and I didn't use it for 6 years. I went into Pilates. And because I was like, this is what I'm doing, I'm going into Pilates, No one really questioned it. Every so often I would get, are you going to ever do anything with that degree? But not even in a judgy way. People were just genuinely curious. My answer would be like, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to, but I don't know where it could lead me. So what I would recommend if you're actually stuck is you finish the degree, you're pretty much done. You're about to finish finance, finish it. I'm guessing it's this year. And then put it on hold. Get a job on the side so you can think, keep working whatever part-time job you're working while you've been at uni, and think, how can I get into self-development? Because you might be introverted, but you might find that you're really interested in psychology where you're talking one-on-one. You might think that, I actually want to write, or I want to work in a clinical setting, or I want to work more so in the beauty about self-development and the mind and, human mind and psychology and human nature is that it is an infinite field that you can dabble into. I'm talking it's infinite. And I would go so far as to say is that most of the people that I met in psychology and in neuroscience and all of that are probably introverted. There's probably more jobs for introverted than there is extroverted in those fields. So you're in good company. I think it's important that you allow yourself this opportunity. You are so young. You are in your early 20s, I would imagine, because you've gone straight into uni after high school. You are so young. Do not start thinking that it's a waste and you've got to go into finance if you don't think it's right for you. At the very least, take a year. Take a year, have a think, start doing, you can even do some short courses if you want. If you don't want to go straight back into uni, you can do some short courses. But to think I have to do finance because I've studied it and now that's it for my life. When you're in your early 20s, trust me, you get to 30 being like, fuck this shit. Now I'm going to start doing what I wanted to do. And I could have started it 8 years ago. Okay? So unless you've got a burning desire to be like, no, I really want to give finance a go, then absolutely give it a go. But you can always go back to finance. You can always take that break. You're so young. Most people in their early 20s, haven't even started a course of doing what they're doing. A lot of people, don't start now till their mid 20s as far as studying goes. They might travel a lot. They might be working to save money to have all these experiences. They might do other short courses in the meantime. They might have already started a career and then already stopped that and then started something new. Everyone's got a different path, but please don't stay in finance just because of what people will think, because you'll be kicking yourself in the future. Because those people of what they will think, they're not going to think much about it after they've judged you once. Do you know what I mean? They're not actually your parents might care because they're more invested, but your friends, do you think they're actually going to lose sleep over the fact that you're not doing finance? They're not. And your parents ultimately, if they're healthy, if you've got a healthy relationship with them, ultimately want you to be safe and healthy and happy, right? So that's why there's a lot of pressure with, career with parents for the most part, unless they're actually really toxic and have a hidden agenda. But in general, the reason there's that pressure, it's not for malicious reasons. It's because they're we want to make sure that you're financially secure, that you're happy with what you're doing and whatever. And this looks like a good job that's going to set you up for a good life, right? But if you're I'll be miserable doing that, I don't want to do it, then they'll understand. Okay, they might be a little bit it would have been nice that you would have. But it doesn't matter. They'll get over it. And when they start saying that you're happy, they'll be thrilled that you made that decision, okay? But to make a decision based on what people will think, you're doing the easy thing now, but it's going to be the hard thing for you long term. You're doing the easy thing being pleasing people now. I don't have to face the judgment. But then later, I'm going to be kicking myself, and there's nothing harder than regret when you knew back in the day that you should have done something different. There is no worse feeling versus I'm going to do the hard thing now. Face the judgment, face people questioning me, face that, why did you do that? And then there'll be the easy path after that being no, I don't have to care because I've done it once. It's fine. I can just dance to the tune of my own fucking drum or whatever the saying is. That is all. And thank you for listening to me all this time. That is so fucking cool. And hopefully you're able to really listen to what it is that you want to do and follow it. And it doesn't matter that you're an introvert. There's so much you can do in that field as an introvert. Don't let that be a deterrent at all. Okay. Thank you so much for writing in, and thank you everyone for writing in, sending your voice messages, sending all of it. I love it. That is all for today. And remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to your brain. Don't take shit from anyone, and especially don't take shit from yourself. Danke.